Welcome back. Well, it's hard not to turn on the news without hearing coverage of the flu season, which is one of the worst on record. The CDC's tracking data shows that flu cases are still increasing across the country. And unfortunately, we've seen reports of deaths, including children. And joining us now to follow up on this flu season, what it means, what we can do to protect ourselves and our families is Dr. Ali Kazrine. It's good to see you. You know, as a parent, I'm very, very concerned. As a matter of fact, I just brought my little daughter in to go get a flu. She hated it. It actually wasn't that bad. She got the shot, cried for a little bit, but then was fine after that. But I was really concerned.
How about you and your husband?
Miserable. The shots don't affect them as much as it affects us. I am beside myself. I want to take the shot 10 times over her getting it. But anyway, felt compelled to do it because of all of the stories that we've been seeing in the news.
Yeah, people from the CDC actually mentioned that as a parent, the best thing you can do for your children to avoid getting the flu is get vaccinated yourself.
I did that too.
Yeah, so I mean, the recommendations are anyone above 6 months of age who doesn't have a reason not to get the vaccine should get the vaccine, because not only does it protect you, but it protects those who can't, like children under 6 months of age, and two populations that are at risk, you know, people over 65 and children under 5. You know.
Let's talk about these unfortunate deaths that we're hearing about in the news with the children. If we see a child getting sick, obviously the first thing we do, bring them to the doctor. I mean, because they say for flu, a lot of times they say you have to wait it out because it's a viral
Absolutely.
thing.
I mean, the thing to keep in mind, if you're concerned about your child being ill, if they're not behaving, and we'll talk a little bit about what some of those things are, have a very low index of suspicion to go into the doctor because unfortunately most people in general and most children who get the flu do recover. However, unfortunately, children do get hospitalized, and you know, that is a significant number, and that's increasing a bit over the past week or so. They say that the amount of children doubling for getting hospitalized for the flu has doubled in the past week, according to the CDC. But unfortunately, some children and some adults do die of the flu, so you want to make sure that you do take all the precautions to potentially avoid that. Common things that you can do to be preventative: cover your coughs and sneezes. You know, these are respiratory droplets. They either pass through talking, coughing, sneezing, those type of things.
Which makes it very highly contagious.
Absolutely, highly contagious. The other thing is they can drop on surfaces, so that's where the cover your coughs and sneezes and washing your hands comes into play.
And then not touching your face, which is so hard.
Very difficult to do.
Right, because you don't realize just how many times you touch your face until you realize, oh, I'm touching my face.
I mean, simple things. Imagine, you know, you're in an area where people are coughing or sneezing. The flu is a little bit more rampant this year, and so you touch the surfaces. You touch a cup, a mug, touch your face, touch your eyes, touch your nose.
How long after touching something? I know it's hard to say, but I mean, is it on there for an hour? You know.
So it depends on the virus and the surfaces. Here, the things to think about in terms of contagiousness. You know, so obviously these come from people and get into places. People can be contagious a day before they start having symptoms, up to 5 to 7 days after having symptoms.
Oh, wow.
You know, one thing that we're talking about is a canine flu. You know, dogs can be contagious up to 3 weeks.
And people can contract the flu from their dogs?
No. So that's one thing that's very important with this. One, this is not new. Most dogs do not die of canine flu, so fatalities are very rare, and they're not transmitted between dogs and humans. And it's actually, the canine flu is not seasonal. But it's something that is more prominent. Florida is one of the states that they see more of it around, so be mindful of that. So if your dog is experiencing symptoms which are very similar to humans, runny nose, they're tired, cough, sneezes, you can take them to the doctor, but hydrate them, make sure they're resting, and make sure they're away from other dogs for about a 3-week period of time.
Is that the same treatment though for a human as well? So we know how to treat the dogs. I mean, for us, best treatment for the flu.
So a lot of people try to weather out the flu, but if your symptoms are getting worse, and especially with children, difficulty breathing, they're having difficulty with fast breathing, blue coloration, which means they're not getting enough oxygen. They're not waking up. They're not interacting as much. They're fussy. They're more irritable. They do not want to be held, and they have a fever with a rash. And another thing to think about, which is interesting, their symptoms get better and then they get worse. Have a short index of suspicion to go in and seeing a doctor, because if your symptoms aren't getting better, and again, these are something usually within a week or two people feel better, starting an antiviral medication is important. And there are two that for children are okay to use. Tamiflu and Rolenza are two medications that are approved, antivirals that are approved for children to be used. They're most effective when you use them within 48 hours. So that's an important thing to think about.
Very important for parents if they have a little one who's sick and
Absolutely.
they just don't have that good feeling in their gut. Bring them in and start
I mean,
talking
the things
about
that you can do that are
antivirals.
important to do: stay home, stay warm if you're sick, wash your hands, cover your sneezes, and then be mindful of when you need to go see a doctor.
Stay home. That's the most important thing. If you don't
A
feel
lot of us
well,
don't do that.
yeah,
It's hard
you
to
just-
get away from work.
I know, but speaking to that person right here who doesn't stop working.
Get vaccinated, see your doctor when you need to.
Good to see you, as always. For more information on Dr. Kez Ryan, you can head to Dr. Kez Ryan's website, which is KezRyanUrology.com. You can also listen to him live on his radio show and call in. It's called The Conversation. It's on WOKV 690 AM, airs every Saturday starting at 5 p.m. Well, after the